What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the 90 and 60 Plus podcast. My name is Christian. Joining me live and in person this week for the first time in a very special location, we got my homie and my co-host Aldo with us. Aldo, how you doing, man? How's the week been treating you?
Good, man. It's been good. It's good to be back. It was a very nice weekend of football. A lot of things happened, a lot of results. Some people had their way, some people did not, but it's been good to be here to talk about it.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here live and in person with you, bro, in your brand new house. Again, congratulations, man. This is an awesome place. Good to be back in the mountains for the weekend and be with you and talk about footy, man, as we do every single week. You ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it. And then real quick, I know there was a lot of graduations this last week too. Your sister graduated too, so congratulations to her. Congratulations to all the graduates out there, you know, for Eagle Valley, Battle Mountain, I don't know what else is out there, but to all the graduates out there, congratulations, and y'all have a big step in the rest of your lives.
Indeed. Yeah, well said there, man. Not much to add on there, so I say we just move on to the football content because, yeah, like you said, bro, a lot of content to get into, a lot of results to cover. You know, for this weekend, for the majority of the leagues, was the last weekend. You know, there's still, I think, one game left to play in a few other leagues, but I think the majority of it is wrapped up. All the champions are set in stone. So, yeah, man, let's just dive right into it as we do every single week with our biggest takeaways. I'll let you go first, bro. What you got for us this week?
Well, for me, man, I guess my biggest takeaway is just it's so sad for me to say this, but how Borussia bottled, you know, the league. Kind of like what we talked last episode. They had it in their hands. They had it within their power to get that W and get the Bundesliga, but they just, for whatever reason, they couldn't do it. I mean, they were down 2-0 at one point. I think Gio Reyna came in and got the assist to make it 2-2, but they just couldn't get enough to get the, you know, over the line. Where on the other hand, Bayern with Musiala in the 89th minute got that winner and secured the title for them, which I think is what their 11th title in a row.
11th in a row, man.
Jeez. So yeah, that's my takeaway, and it's sad to talk about it because I was really hoping for, you know, Borussia Dortmund and Marco Reus to get that Bundesliga title.
Yeah, man, I agree with you 100%. I mean, we'll cover that when we get onto the Bundesliga in just a little bit, but yeah, I think you just pretty much covered it well right there. Yeah, and then I guess mine for the week is it's funny because last week, you know, I talked about Sergio Busquets and how he's leaving the club coming into the season, and I was really like, man, this is the end of a dynasty for Barca under that Pep team. You know, that team that won the treble, or what the sextuple, actually. Only team in history to ever do it. So, and then this week it comes out that Jordi Alba, another Barca legend in my opinion, is also leaving the club coming the end of the season. And it's funny because we go from the last piece to the Pep era to the last piece of the what was the coach's name? Not Valverde. Luis Enrique.
Yeah.
Yeah, the team that won the treble. Yeah, he's really the last puzzle of that piece too. Last piece to that puzzle of that team that is leaving coming the end of the season. So yeah, Barca, man, they are going to enter a new era for sure. And again, like I said last week, Xavi is at the helm, and he was very crucial to the Pep era, so hopefully he honors the past and carries his team to the future. But yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting, man. Jordi Alba, great player. Kind of fell off a lot this past year, you know, especially with the resurgence of Alejandro Badle, but still a Barca legend in my opinion, came in clutch for so many moments, and yeah, sad to see him go, and excited to kind of see where he goes after this.
Yeah, most definitely. Like you said, man, he's done a tremendous work for Barca. He's achieved so much in that club as well, but we'll see where he goes from here. You know, he's still not done. He's still got a good couple years left, right? We'll just see where he goes and in what kind of system they can fit him in.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, that's our biggest takeaways, and I say we just move on to the league action that took place this past weekend, bro. And I don't know. I kind of want to start with the Bundesliga now. I know we start with the Premier League all the time, but the Bundesliga, I think, was the main talking point going into this match week because, yeah, like you said, bro, the first time in 10 years where a team other than Bayern can clinch the Bundesliga title. And it looked like all the cards were falling into Dortmund's favors, honestly, because, I mean, they were at home to Mainz in front of 80,000 supporters. They were cheering them on. Bayern Munich, they were traveling away as well to Cologne, who's no easy team, and they were actually, you know, quite early on. Yeah, a lot of unlucky things happened in this game, bro. Dortmund, they missed a penalty early on after going down 2-0 early on. This game was so close, in fact, that I don't know if you heard this, but the Bundesliga chiefs or commissioners, they actually sent the real Bundesliga title to Dortmund, to the Borussia Park. in,
I did not know
in hopes that Dortmund would actually clinch their first Bundesliga title. And then, in fact, when it came out that Bayern won their game and Dortmund tied, they had a replica. It wasn't the real Bundesliga title that they had to celebrate with, so I thought that was a very interesting narrative. It just shows how much that confidence that everyone had in Dortmund, but, man, they couldn't do it.
I mean, if anything, I kind of blame the executives now, man. They jumped the gun. Like, they literally jumped the gun for Dortmund there. And just look at these stats, man. Well, not for the game, but like for the standings. Dortmund, out of 34 games played, they won 22. Bayern won 21. I mean, obviously there's more draws and losses in there, but usually the team that wins the league is because they've won more games, just in general. I mean, they tied in points and then they got the goal difference. So, but oh man, it's just sad to see, especially on that occasion, with how Marco Reus is also getting close to the end of his career. You know, who knows how long he's going to be at the top of his game. You know, we all wanted to see a triumph story for him, especially after his horrible injuries that made him miss the 2014 World Cup, and then I think he also missed the 2018 World Cup because of an injury, right? Right. So, I mean, this could have been a good story for him, but it didn't happen.
Yeah. And I think more damning the fact that Mainz, they went into this game versus Dortmund with their having lost their last 4 games, bro. Yeah. That's 4-1 loss to Stuttgart, 3-0 loss to Frankfurt, 3-2 loss to Schalke, and 3-0 loss to Wolfsburg. However, prior to that, they had beat Bayern Munich 3-1 at home. So I guess they do come up big versus the big clubs. And yeah, you can't say they were favoring one team or the other. They just came out and gave it all they had, and that's what they did. But yeah, man, I mean, I think we'll transition to the Premier League after this, but since we're going over there, would you consider this a bigger failure than Arsenal?
I don't know, because I think Arsenal, like I said, Arsenal had it since 93% of the whole season that they were on top. But before we talk about that, though, congrats to Union Berlin. They actually clinched their Champions League spot, which makes it the first time they're going to be in a Champions League.
That's right.
You know, which is going to be awesome. It's going to be good to see. And RB Leipzig on there at third. But no, I think Arsenal's still a bigger failure than Dortmund, because Arsenal was at the top of the league for so much longer. They had more control as to what they could do. Arsenal is just a bigger failure right now for me.
Yeah, man, and I also want to give a quick shout out to Christopher Nkunku, who scored on his last game as an RB Leipzig player. Right. He finished joint top goal scorer in the Bundesliga along with Nicholas Füllkrug from Werder Bremen. So congrats to him. And yeah, that story comes to an end as well. It's gonna be sad to see him go coming into the season. I misspoke actually. He scored a brace, and his last goal to actually tie the record tie for the season was in the 94th minute. So that's very exciting to see. But yeah, obviously we know he's moving on to Chelsea. Obviously, when that deal was made permanent and announced, Chelsea was under a much different project than they are now. So I'm not exactly sure how Nkunku feels about that. But in theory, he should make the team better. And in theory, Chelsea should be better after they assign Potter and get a few other players in and definitely kick some players out of the club. But yeah, I think that's a nice transition over to the Premier League if you're ready for that, man, because a lot of last day drama here as well. Obviously, going into the last day of the season, match day 38, a lot of teams were already set in stone. There's only a few things to look out for. The biggest one was the relegation battle, but I also had an eye out on the finish between 7th and 8th. Aston Villa actually qualified for Europa Conference League above Spurs. This is the first time in, I think, 9-7 years where Spurs are going to miss out on Europe altogether. That's no Champions League, no Europa, no Conference League. Shout out to Unai Emery and Aston Villa, in fact, because they did beat Brighton, who were a place above them in the table, to qualify for that last European spot as a Premier League team. So that's very exciting. He's done a tremendous job with that team, as we all know. No need to go further into that. Spurs, they kind of controlled their own destiny as well. They absolutely smacked Leeds 4-1.
Yeah.
And in that game, obviously, Harry Kane scored a brace to bring his league tally to 30 for the season. Very impressive for me. And honestly, bro, if you ask me, I think that's more impressive, getting 30 goals for this Spurs team than Erling Haaland getting 36 for that Man City team. Definitely an underrated player, in my opinion. Definitely an underrated season.
Yeah, most definitely. I think, and I think it solidifies the fact that Harry Kane has to leave Spurs if he really wants to, win any type of trophy. Even more so now that they're not going to be competing in Europe. Realistically, will they be competing for the Prem? I don't think so. Will they be maybe competing for the Carabao Cup, FA Cup? Not with this team that they currently have. Not with the lack of direction as well that they currently have. So I think Harry Kane just has to get out of there. And I feel bad for Heung-min Son too, because Heung-min Son, he's done a tremendous job for Tottenham in the past, and I think he deserves more better than that Tottenham team.
Yeah, and I think also Spurs should look at this and self-evaluate themselves, because I think it speaks a lot to them too, the fact that they're still relying on this one player just to pull them through games and pull them through the season, honestly. So I think if Spurs were smart, they would see that and obviously let him go as well. But yeah, shout out to Harry Kane. And that loss, or that win over Leeds too, that really solidified their spot in the relegation, man. And I think that's what we'll shift our attention to next, because we all knew Southampton was relegated come, the last match day. And then really 19th and 18th place were being contested between three different teams. We had Leeds, Leicester, and Everton in order from bottom to top. And last day of the season, Everton, they squeaked out a 1-0 win versus Bournemouth, who were somehow miraculously safe coming into the season.
Honestly.
But obviously Leeds, they fell to Leeds, they fell to Spurs, and Leicester, despite the win, I think, to West Ham 2-1, it still wasn't enough to keep them in the Premier League.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. And I want to give you props, man. You actually did call it for Leicester getting relegated. That's huge. We called it at the beginning of the season. I think we all said Southampton was going to get relegated, so I know we got that right. Yeah, definitely surprised Bournemouth survived. I don't like that Chelsea survived either. They were so close mathematically. I guess it just didn't happen, but it is what it is. But man, Leicester and Leeds going back to the Championship. We'll see how they do. We'll see how they'll struggle too, because they're not going to be able to keep many of their star players.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to talk about next, man. But before I do that, yeah, that's right. I called this at the beginning of the season. Man, I got trolled by you guys. I got trolled by the internet. I got trolled by TikTok. I know my ball, y'all. I knew coming into the season Leicester were going to struggle. Did I think they were going to get relegated? Maybe not. But I I'm one of the few people that I think called that. So, man, I should put some money on that. But anyways, damn, that feels good.
Yeah, dude, that was a good call. It was
first thing they did when they were confirmed to get relegated. I went back to that TikTok video and I was like, I was right.
Yeah, dude, it was an ambitious call. Not gonna lie, I honestly did not think Leicester was gonna get relegated. I thought they were gonna barely survive. I knew they were gonna struggle, but sheesh, man. Do you think Brendan Rodgers is still gonna stay there? Try to get them promoted again, or is he gone?
Bro, Brendan Rodgers been gone, bro.
He's been gone?
Yeah, they sacked him not too long ago.
Bro, you're right. Oh man, where have I been? Jesus.
Yeah, no, they hired Dean Smith.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these coaches are known for just trying to keep the teams in the Premier League come the last few days of the season, like Dean Smith, like Sam Allardyce for Leeds, Everton too. I think they have a manager in there that's pretty similar caliber. Let me just find him real quick. Sean Dyche, yeah. All these managers known for just keeping teams in the Premier League. Some succeeded, some didn't. But yeah, let's quickly talk about... Well, actually, I think it's worth mentioning, the teams are going to replace these clubs come the Premier League next season from the EFL Championship being promoted. Obviously, we have Burnley, who won the Premier League, the EFL Championship under Vincent Kompany, which is very exciting. Then we also got Sheffield United, and then Luton Town, who actually won promotion on the last day due to the playoffs over, Coventry County, I think.
Coventry County, yeah.
Yeah.
And what a game it was. I mean, I didn't watch it, but I was getting a bunch of notifications from ESPN, of how things were going down, and yeah, at the end, 5-6 on penalties. Luton Town coming in clutch, and it'll be good to see them in the Prem. And they'll have to make a lot of adjustments, not just to their squad, but primarily to their stadium, because I think that's where you were going to. You were going to talk about the how they have to get their stadium to Premier League standards and all that good stuff.
Yeah, bro. Kenilworth Road, it's a stadium known, very synonymous over in England, not so much for its glitz and glamour, but quite the opposite. The away entrance, I think, is what they're going to have to spend $10,000 on to renovate and bring up to Premier League standards, especially for the broadcasting. Yeah.
10 mil?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen the videos online. It's been a very talked about topic over the world of football these past few weeks. Pretty much, to get into the away stands or the away section, you have to go through neighbors' backyards just to enter the stadium. It is, obviously one of the most outdated stadiums in the Premier League, but very historic as well. And man, I can't wait to see teams like Liverpool, City, Man United go there come next season. Oh, the atmosphere is going to be buzzing.
Oh, yeah, the commentator when Luton Town won totally skipped on City, and that happens, that's only for big clubs when a town is very excited that you're going to go play in that stadium. Manchester United is going to go play in that stadium, and oh, man, the world's livid there.
Yeah. All right, so let's go back to the three teams going down to the championship because obviously not their entire squad's going to go down with them. I mean, let's start with bottom of the table, Southampton. Really, I can only think about one player that, is worth having a look at for most Premier League teams or just other teams around Europe's top 5 leagues. But I don't know, man. James Ward-Prowse's been at Southampton for years, it seems like, and I think he's pretty loyal. I mean, he's at the prime of his career right now, being 28. Mm-hmm. But he's been there since 2011. I mean, kind of a club legend, honestly. Really, the only team he's ever been with professionally, came up through their academy and everything. I don't know if I can see him leaving at the end of the summer.
No, I think he'll stay. Because let's be honest, James Ward-Prowse, he is a wonderful set piece specialist. We know that for a fact. But I don't think he'll be going. I don't think he'll be going anywhere. I think he's going to stay with his, one true love of Southampton. Yeah, I think he's going to stay there.
17 direct free kick goals this past season. I was one away from David Beckham's 18th record-breaking season. So, yeah, I thought he would stay up, at least try and match that record or even break it. But, yeah, man, I don't know. I think I kind of agree with you. But it's a shame because I see him fitting in so well to so many other teams. I mean, obviously, City with losing Gundogan and a few other big Premier League teams. Liverpool, we all know they're in desperate need of a box-to-box midfielder. But, yeah, I think ultimately he'll just end up staying and possibly winning back promotion to the Premier League. So really that's the only player from Southampton that I can see, it's worth keeping up. But that's not the case with the next two teams. Obviously Leeds, just loaded with players that are full of talent. I mean, you got obviously Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Brendan Aronson, just name a few, but also, likes of Mark Roca, Rodrigo Moreno.
The keeper, Melier.
Yeah, very young. He had a terrible season, got to be said, but still a great prospect. Jack Harrison, Junior Firpo. Man, this team's just loaded with talent that I can't see staying an entire season in the championship.
Well, I know for a fact Tyler Adams he's probably gonna leave. I heard a rumor out there that United want to look at him, especially since Leeds got relegated, but I don't think Taylor Adams is going to stay there because he's still pretty young. He's, 23, 24? Mm-hmm. To be in the championship, I don't think so. Brendan Aronson, maybe, because he's a bit younger. Maybe. It'll probably benefit more because he can probably get more playing time in the championship. And then Weston McKennie, wasn't he on loan?
Yeah, I think so. But I think Juventus is just going to sell him no matter what.
They're just going to sell him. So he might just stay at Leeds or go somewhere else entirely. Mm-hmm. They're probably going to sell him somewhere else. But yeah, the one I'm worried most about is Melier because let's be honest, he's shown really good promise. He already has Premier League experience. And he's only 22, 23. He's a very young keeper. Obviously, a lot of room to grow. They won't be able to keep him. That's for sure. In the championship.
Oof. Yeah, man, I agree with you. Some big names. I'm excited to see who actually stays with Leeds, but I think majority of them will end up staying. And obviously with Leeds, I think a lot of teams like the caliber of Leeds, they always put this clause into their contracts, saying if they do get relegated to the championship, their salaries are automatically cut by 50%. So, some of these players aren't going to accept that if we're being honest, but I guess we'll see because, like you said, a lot of Premier League teams can use some teams of this caliber. And, I think we should move on to the last one, Leicester, who I think for sure is going to have some big exits coming into the summer. I think the two biggest ones, Yuri Tielemans, his contract was running out anyways. I think it was pretty set in stone he was going to leave. But obviously the big one is James Maddison. A phenomenal player, had a phenomenal season. And, I just can't see him staying down in the championship. He already had interest in the likes of, teams like Man United, Man City, Liverpool. And, I definitely see a big money move for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think Jamie Vardy, his name might have been thrown up there, but I think he's going to stay at Leicester. Let's be honest. He's when he came up with Leicester, and he's going to go down with Leicester. They're going to stay up there. When Riyad Mahrez left, and who else was it that left?
Conte.
He stayed. So I think he's gonna stay there. I don't think he's gonna move anywhere. But yeah, James Maddison, he's definitely gonna go to a different Prem club. It might be, I can see him going to like Nottingham Forest. I can see him going to Newcastle. Teams of that caliber. He might be a really good fit for Brighton too.
Yeah. After losing McAllister as well.
Yep.
That's a good shout. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all the big ones, some big names, and I'm excited to see what the summer brings and where these players actually end up. But yeah, man, crazy end of the Premier League season. It's got to be said. Yeah. We obviously had the crazy title race between City and Arsenal. We had teams like Chelsea and Spurs just completely having terrible seasons, missing out on Europe altogether. The relegation battle was very entertaining. The race for top 4 and top 7 for Europe competitions was also very entertaining. But yeah, I think this will be remembered as one of the greater Premier League seasons, despite City winning it for the 3rd time in a row. I think next season we just have more to look forward to.
Oh yeah, most definitely. A lot of football clubs have a lot to look forward to. I mean, Arsenal, again, it's a massive failure, ending in 2nd place, no trophies this season, but they can still look back at the progress that they've made and be proud of that. United, a lot of progress just made in one season, let's be honest. Last season, 6th place. This season, finishing in 3rd with a trophy already in the bag and in a final as well. Newcastle, tremendous progress. Tremendous progress. I mean, they're in a top 4 finish. They're going back to Europe. So a lot to look forward there. Liverpool, they're currently in a rebuild, and they've started early. I mean, let's not forget they got Cody Gakpo not that long ago. They're right now for McAllister. They're growing up. And then Brighton, De Serbi, Jude. That guy's playing insane football. Insane. Yeah. And just imagine now with what new additions he might bring in next season. So yeah, a lot to look forward for the Prem next season. I think it's going to be a really, really good next season.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it just as much as you are. Before we move on to the other top 3 leagues in Europe, I think it's worth mentioning, the leagues that have wrapped up officially because some haven't. We talked about this one last week, the Liga NOS. There was a slight chance that Porto can become champions coming into the season over their arch rivals Benfica, but that obviously didn't happen. Both teams actually won their games 3-0, but, I mean, they neither advanced any higher up in the table. Benfica are Liga NOS champions, which is nice to see, a young, exciting squad start off the season with talents like the likes of Enzo Fernandez, but they still got Gonzalo Ramos, Julian Draxler, just a very, very talented squad altogether. And Porto, I think they can hold their heads high saying that they were right up there with Benfica as far as in the Champions League and domestic. So, yeah, another Liga NOS season to look out for as well next season. And over in the Eredivisie, I mean, obviously we knew that Feyenoord, they were crowned champions, but the last match they did have some ramifications as far as who will finish in that qualifier for the Champions League, which was between PSV and Ajax. So coming into the last match day, I think that Ajax had to win their game and PSV had to lose for Ajax to stand any hopes at all to qualify for Europe, or excuse me, to the Champions League. And the exact opposite happened, man. I mean, it's got to be said, PSV, they beat AZ Alkmaar 2-1, and Ajax actually lost their game 3-1 to Twente. So for the first time in, I think, 4 or 5 years, Ajax are not going to be playing any Champions League football, and that spot's going to go to PSV.
Yeah. Well, no, PSV is going to the qualifiers. That's right. My bad. But yeah, dude. And they, Ajax, they still got to do a playoff for the Europa League, so they're not in it directly, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, man, that's crazy to see. How Ajax, how Ajax really fell a little bit, but that also goes to show how great of a manager Erik ten Hag is. They lost their main man. He brought some of the his main players like Anthony and like Martinez over to United, and look at that, they not only were they not able to win the league, they weren't able to qualify for the Champions League qualifier. So that just shows what United has in their hands now. But other than that, yeah, Feyenoord, champions. Happy about that. Sucks that they lost their final game, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think you were mentioning this before we started recording, man, but it's got to be said, some of the most passionate fans in world football do come from Holland, because we've seen so many cases of it this season. I mean, the fights between Feyenoord and Ajax fans when they were facing each other in the cup final or the cup semifinal. There was even a case where a Feyenoord fan threw a battery at Ajax player, Klaassen, and he obviously started bleeding because of it. We had the AZ Alkmaar fans trying to overtake the West Ham London Stadium, and then just most recently too, I mean, we were talking about this Steven Berghuis, Ajax player. He was so this is the story, and again, this is all rumors up in the air. No one knows exactly what happened, but obviously Europe is known to be some of the most racist fans to have some of the most racist fans in the world.
Yeah, just look at Vinicius and all that.
I mean, apparently one Twente fan was racially abusing Ajax teammate Steven Broberty, or I gotta get his name right, Brian Broberty, and Berghuis, he took matters into his own hand and actually assaulted the fan. The video is kind of unclear. I mean, you can say that he hit him direct on, or that the fan kind of flopped, but either way, Berghuis put out a statement saying he regrets his actions. That's not the right way to deal with it. It's just, in Holland, it's so common because fans are just that, I don't even know if passion is the right word to use, but
no, not for that.
Fans are just that crazy, I guess, but yeah, again, we don't condone any of those actions, and they don't belong in the game of football, the beautiful game of football. But yeah, I mean, quite a way to end the season for the Eredivisie, if I say so. But that's Liga NOS, the Eredivisie, and I guess now we can move on to the other leagues that have one match left to play. And despite having one match left to play, we all know they're champions by now. And I guess the most recent one to be crowned is PSG over in Ligue 1. They clinched their Ligue 1 title with a draw, surprisingly, versus Strasbourg.
That's the most PSG thing ever.
A 1-1 draw. And it's got to be said, bro, it's come off obviously they finished with 85 points, potentially 83 or 88. But it's got to be said, it's one of the most disappointing campaigns for sure. You look at the injuries to Neymar, the controversy with players like Messi, and the crashing out of the Champions League in such horrendous fashion. Yeah, man, this PSG project, I think it's just all up in the air, and they need a heavy, heavy rebuild come this summer.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially, come on, like we know their goal every year is for the Champions League. Even they're tired of winning the League One and then winning the domestic cup, but they got to get the right people to do that. So yeah, huge rebuild for them, I think.
Yeah, man. And then obviously, I think the bigger narrative too is Lens. They have clinched Champions League football next season, which is impressive. And then obviously, you look at Marseille and Lille and Rennes and even Monaco. They're still fighting for European places. Lyon surprisingly won't make any European spots, despite having a brilliant season by Alexander Lacazette, who had 27 goals coming into the season. I mean, obviously, he can still win the Golden Boot potentially, but that's a big, tough task to ask for, especially when Kylian Mbappe has 28. And yeah, man, overall, I think Ligue 1, just very lackluster altogether. One of the interesting narratives come this season definitely is the fact that 4 teams are going to be relegated from Ligue 1 this season, because next season they're going to go from 20 to 18 teams. We're only going to have 3 come up. 2. So,
2.
Yeah, it's obviously right now it's Nantes, Troyes, Ajaccio, and Angers all in the bottom 4, but a lot to play for in the last day of the season, and I'm not sure exactly what Ligue 2, I think that's the second division, I don't know what it's called, is looking like, but yeah, man, it's going to be quite the interesting race. But yeah, again, not much to talk about here, so I guess I'll just ask you the question that everyone's talking about, man. Do you think players the likes of Messi and Neymar are going to stay at PSG come this season?
Well, Messi, we know for sure he's going to be gone. He just never liked it there. He never got used to life there, so he's going to be gone for sure. Neymar, I also think is going to be gone. I mean, I've heard rumors already of like how United want to get him, how other clubs want to get him too.
Chelsea.
But I mean, can Chelsea really afford to get him right now with all the spending they get? I mean, that would raise some financial fair play questions, especially with the big moves of Modric and Fernandes, But I think I also heard one rumor there that he might go back to Barca along with Messi. Even though that one's not as concrete as the other ones. But yeah, I think both of them will be gone from PSG.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth mentioning recently Fabrizio Romano came out saying that there was an interview with Mbappe, and he said that he is happy to be at PSG, happy to be part of this project. And I guess if you want to keep one, that is the player you want to keep. Obviously, the face of France football, grew up in Paris, so a great player. And yeah, if they get the right players around him to facilitate him and actually, play for the badge, I think that's exactly what PSG want. Contend go deep in the Champions League. And we've been saying this every year, but has it ever happened? Not really.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, that's pretty much the league unsewn up despite having one game left of the season. And I guess we can move on to the Serie A, who, again, we all know they're champions, but I think this past weekend the top 4 race was pretty much set in stone, so we all know who's going to be contending in the Champions League next season. Obviously, we got the champions Lazio and Napoli. The champions Napoli, and then followed by Lazio in second. And then we got the 2 Milan clubs that I think have also clinched top 4 finishes. That is Inter and AC Milan, who did clinch that last Champions League spot with a 1-0 winner with Juventus. Juventus, man, what a up and down season they've had. I mean, they went from being top 4 contenders the entire of the season until they were hit with that 15-point deduction. Then it got rescinded for all about 3-4 weeks, a month essentially, and then they're in that top 4. They're likely to get Champions League, and now they got hit with the 10-point deduction again, and now they're all the way down in 7th place, and the best they can hope for is Conference League.
Yeah. It's not a good year to be a Juventus fan or player. Up and downs everywhere. I mean, losing. I guess not losing, but getting hit with this point deduction. And then your board of directors all resign. Going up again to potential. Yeah, no, it's been a whole roller coaster for them. So reminds me of Chivas with yesterday. But yeah, no, it's at least they got Conference League, I guess. Something to be happy about. Still some type of European football. Whatever the Conference League is.
Yeah, and then even they were in the semifinals of the Europa League, and they could have qualified to the Champions League had they won that, but obviously they lost to the Real Madrid of the Europa League, which is Sevilla in the semifinals. And yeah, I guess that was another opportunity lost. I'm not sure if any of those players took it seriously, but yeah, again, man, Juve, another team, similar to PSG, honestly, another team with a lot of pedigree in their domestic league, not so much in the Champions League recently, and they're well overdue a rebuild. I think it's confirmed that Bonucci is leaving coming into the season as well. So
is he really?
Yeah, it's about he's just retiring in general.
Oh, so he's done.
Yeah, he's done.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
And that was the last piece of that famous back three, that BBC of Barzagli, Chiellini, and Bonucci. But yeah, it's about dang time they got those 3 out and started rebuilding. They got some young center backs in like Bremer now. Danilo's been playing pretty well at center back, but yeah, I think they're well overdue a rebuild, just like PSG.
Yeah, most definitely. And they got some really good firepower up top. Vlahovic, he's still really young. I think Chiesa's back, right, from that injury, and he's been doing well. So they've been doing some kind of rebuild up top. It's just now just do it at the bottom.
Yeah. And then, I guess the last top league we can talk about really is La Liga. And again, we all obviously know that Barca is the champions. And yeah, really not a whole lot to talk about here. This past weekend, they did say goodbye to the Camp Nou as it was their last home game. And they will be playing their home games at a different stadium come next season, because obviously the Camp Nou is going to be reconstructed or rebuilt. And then we said goodbye to legends like Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba as well. But I think this was kind of weird, some Barca fans, because it was the last game at the Camp Nou. There was obviously this big celebration with fireworks, musical displays at the end, the celebrations of the trophies and everything. But fans, they took it into their own hands. Not sure if you saw this, man, but they were taking parts of the stadium home with them, kind of just as memorabilia. As the last game under the original Camp Nou, they were taking home chairs, exit signs, all kinds of signs like no smoking areas and stuff like that. I thought it was pretty weird, but
they're going to tear it all down, no? Yeah. And they're going to start from the beginning?
Pretty sure, at least the top stands.
That kind of makes sense to me. I remember not that long ago when United replaced the field at Old Trafford. And I mean, fans didn't go in and like take parts of the field and stuff. But like United, they were smart about it. They cut up pieces of the field and sold them as memorabilia, and a lot of fans did buy those. I thought about buying one. I just wasn't able to get one, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, it just makes sense. Of course, you want to get memorabilia, piece of history, because whatever person stole that sign, they're gonna hang it up on the wall. Whoever person stole that chair, they're gonna sit down and say, "Yep, this was present when, I don't know, Barca won the 6-2 or whatever piece of history it is, maybe,
Yeah, and then obviously their rivals on the table both had 2-1 victories. Atletico 2-1 over Sociedad, Madrid 2-1 over Sevilla. Rodrigo, bro, what a game this guy had. Had a brace, 2 brilliant goals as well. If y'all haven't seen those, definitely go check them out. But yeah, stepped up big in the absence of Vinicius Jr., who received that red card in the last game. I think we've said this in our last pod, it was unrightfully deserved. But yeah, the race for second is definitely between those two teams. Sociedad, I think they're safe in fourth. They're going to play Champions League football next season. Yeah, La Liga is pretty much set in stone as well. I mean, Espanyol and Elche, I think they're confirmed to get relegated. Valladolid and Celta Vigo, who are playing Barca on the last game of the season at home, they're contending for that last 18th spot, that last relegation spot. But yeah, man, I mean, La Liga, I mean, it was a good season if you're a Barca perspective, but I guess for the rest of the league it was pretty boring. Real Madrid fell flat a lot of times, and Atletico Madrid, I think they honestly had the player of the season in my opinion in La Liga, and Griezmann, 29 goal contributions in all competitions, so that was amazing. I mean, he's just, I think, back to his best self over in Atletico Madrid, and hopefully it just goes up from here. I'd love to see Atletico contend for another La Liga trophy or even in the Champions League with him on this form, so hopefully we can see that soon.
Yeah, dude. Do you think is this Simeone's last season?
Oh yeah, that has been a big talking point all season long too.
Yeah,
man. I mean, I think definitely, players like Griezmann, João Felix, if they do return, I think definitely it does suit them best if Simeone does leave. But I don't know, man. He's stubborn.
He is stubborn. I mean, let's be honest though. Simeone has done a tremendous job with Atletico. I mean, look at all that he's done. I mean, he was able to get La Liga. He was able to get them not into 1 but 2 Champions League finals, right? If I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. It's just unfortunate he couldn't get the win on one of those. So he's done a tremendous job. But now it's just the question is, all right, is it time for someone else to step in? Does he need a new chapter in his career? What's going to go on there? But I think Simeone is going to stay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he stays either. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think if it's work, why fix it? If it's working, why try and fix it? Obviously, the style of football he plays isn't the most attractive in the world, but it's been very effective, like you said, because of all the achievements. Maybe it's not just he needs to leave so some players can flourish. Maybe it's the players need to leave. So, I mean, we saw João Felix get a loan move. Maybe the best thing to do is him to do a permanent move to a different club. But again, we'll see what happens this summer.
I think João Felix can do really well in a Prem club. That's not Chelsea.
Yeah.
Because since Felix's loan move, he's been the one giving them the best type of chance, creating chances, making the spaces. I mean, just like literally yesterday against that game against United, he got the ball from the halfway line, ran through it, went all the way, got a goal. And it wasn't just any tapping goal or anything like that. It was a good goal placed, beating David De Gea. It was the only game of the game for Chelsea, but it is what it is. And it's not the only occasion, I think João Felix can do really well in a Prem club. Mm-hmm. So I think he should consider moving to a Prem club. Yeah,
man, well said. Well, cool, bro. I think we can move on to our top 10 list, and maybe we can have 1 more or 2 more coming into the season, after the Champions League wraps up, because I think that is the last regular game of the footballing season, and that's 2 weeks from now. So, yeah, let's just remind the viewers or listeners of what it looked like last week. So, going from 10th to 1st, we had AC Milan, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Borussia Dortmund, Manchester United, Inter Milan, Barcelona, Napoli, Feyenoord, and City. So, if it's good with you, man. I say we start with 10th place, and I say teams like Newcastle and Dortmund, they deserve to be, I think, 10th and 9th respectfully, or do you think Dortmund deserves to be knocked out and we replace them with Bayern altogether?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that we should be able to put Bayern in this list again at 10th, because not only did they win the Bundesliga, they did win it with a last-minute winner, 89th minute, and Borussia bottled their chance.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I can agree to that.
All right, Bayern 10th. And then I say we put Newcastle right above them at 9th. Obviously, they finished, in Champions League spots, but they drew versus Chelsea. And, if you draw versus Chelsea, that's saying a lot about your club. But, yeah, tremendous season. I think that, we just put teams like Aston Villa ahead of them. So I would say Newcastle 9th, Aston Villa 10th, or excuse me, 8th. You agree with that?
Aston Villa 8th. Yeah, I must say, yeah. I agree to that. Aston Villa did really well since Unai Emery came in, and they've just been gaining momentum. So, yeah, I'm going to say yeah.
All right. And then 7th place, I think AC Milan after that win over Juventus. I think that's a fair spot. Obviously moving up a few spots from last week. Confirmed to be in the Champions League next season. So I think, 6th place is a fair spot for them. Unless you think United, who has been in 6th for I think 4 weeks now, deserves to be a little bit higher. Or
I do think they deserve to be a little bit higher. Because not only did they secured 3rd place, they secured it in a fashion where they beat Chelsea 4-1, beat Fulham 2-1 in the way that they did. And they're in the FA Cup final. So, and they already have 1 trophy. So, yeah, I think they should be just 2 spots higher maybe.
Ooh. I don't know about that, man, because after that you got the likes of Inter, Barca, Napoli, Feyenoord.
I think United should be above Inter, because Inter, the only thing they got right now is that they're in the Champions League final.
That's true. Top 4 finish. They beat. They're actually on pretty good form right now. Their most recent game, they beat Atalanta 3-2.
It's Atalanta. What the fuck?
All right. So would you be okay with Milan 7th, Inter 6th, United 5th?
Yeah, that works for me.
All right. Cool. Let me just put that in here real quick. All right, and then top 4, Barca, Napoli, Feyenoord, City. I don't know, man. Feyenoord did lose on the last game of the season, but Napoli and
so did City.
Yeah, and Napoli and Barca. Although they're champions, they haven't had their best season.
I think the top 4 should stay as is.
All right, I'm cool with that. So, if we go in order from 10th to 1st, we got Bayern, Newcastle, Villa, Milan, Inter, United, Barca, Napoli, Feyenoord, City. Sound good?
That works, yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we have one more match week to go for some leagues in Europe, so I guess we'll be back next week to recap those and update this. And then obviously we got, Europa League final, which is this Wednesday, Conference League final, which is next Wednesday, and then obviously the Champions 1 and 2 weeks from now. FA Cup final as well.
Yeah, FA Cup is this Saturday. Come on, I keep forgetting today's Monday, dude. But yeah, this Saturday, FA Cup final. This is going to be a really good one because, again, not only is there a second trophy in it for both clubs, but the travel dream ends or continues there.
That's true. I didn't think about that. What's interesting too is Inter. They also have a chance to win a treble because they just won the Coppa Italia. They won the Supercoppa earlier in the season, so obviously they can come up with a treble at the end of the season too.
Damn, you're right.
And they're more likely than City at this point.
Those domestic ones. Damn, I thought he slipped on those. That's true, huh? Oh, see, now I gotta change my top 10 because I totally forgot about those. Oh man, but this Saturday's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good game. Well, these last couple of weeks are going to be good matches to see. Obviously, it's the business end of the season.
All right, man. Anything else to say before we sign off?
No, that's going to be it.
All right. Well, you want to do us the pleasure of signing us off since we're in your house?
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, thank you again for listening to us here at 90 and 60 Pod. Feel free to follow us on our socials. We got Twitter, TikTok, and just listen to us anywhere you find your podcast. Apple Podcast, Spotify. Give us a like. Oh, we also have YouTube now, don't we? Yep. Give us a like, subscribe on YouTube. 1960 Pod there. If you haven't already, check out our live stream that we had a couple weeks ago. Hopefully, we're planning for some more in the future, but check us out there. And anyway, have a happy Memorial Day out there, guys, and we'll see you next time.